What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Divine Potential. I believe this is episode 14, but today I am joined by my good friend, Jacob Yates. Me and Jacob met, and this is a couple months ago. We met at a worship night at one of the local churches here in Columbus, but I remember seeing you come out of the auditorium, and then I don't know why. I still don't. I'm just trying to figure out, but like, what's that?
I was on my way out.
You were on your way out, and then I
Yeah.
was like, I stopped you. So what's up? And asked you if there's anything you needed some prayer for. You tried to duck it at first.
I did. I
which
was like, honestly, life's pretty good.
life's pretty good, but then you stopped, and then we traded contact information, and then found out you go to my gym, and
You go to my gym.
okay.
I'm playing.
That's fair. That's fair. It's soon going to be my gym though, but we'll see. But then I guess after that encounter, we weren't even kicking it for like first month,
Yeah.
and then we just started working out together.
Tried to set something up a couple times, dropped the ball, bumped into each other at the gym. Like, all right, this is how we're gonna make this work.
Exactly. I mean, just fitting it into our schedules.
Yeah.
But I had no idea the background that you had, the story that you've been writing, that God's been writing in your life, and just seeing, guys, Jacob is an incredible dad. He's an entrepreneur, and this dude's just got one of the craziest stories that I've heard, and it's just I'm excited to just chop it up with this dude. Just to have considered you a really good and close friend. Seriously,
Just the beginning, man.
it is just the beginning, but I think we should get into that story.
Okay.
So, I think we should. I mean, love starting in the beginning. So,
Okay.
What kind of background did you grow up in? I guess what was it like growing up?
I was born and raised in Columbus.
Yeah,
I love my city.
come on, I know you do.
I do. I'm one of 6 kids. All from my mom. I'm the only child from my dad. My mom was married a few times, but we all grew up in the same house.
Hmm.
And my dad was locked up most of my childhood. And I remember he always loved me, but he struggled with addiction.
Yeah.
And I remember being like 4 years old and laying in the bed with him. I don't know why this is such a vivid memory at such a young age, but I was like 4 years old, and I remember him telling me a part of his story and how he just got wrapped up in an unsafe lifestyle, and he was shot, and he had been incarcerated before. But I remember him making me a promise that he would never put himself in a situation where he would jeopardize that again, because he just wanted to be a present father. And it wasn't long after that this part I don't remember, but my mom's told me a few times, and she said that I came home one day and she knew his history, but there was periods of time where he was sober and she would let him be present in my life. But there was a day that I came home and I had told her that he had taken me to what I know now was a crack house. And she said that I told him that we went to one of his friends' houses and that he had given this man some money for a bag of white stuff. And like I was saying, I was still about 4 years old at the time. And after that day, my mom cut all contact. I didn't know why he wasn't in my life. I didn't even know at the time that where he would taken me was an unsafe place, but all I knew was that he wasn't around anymore. And my mom just said that he wasn't well, and that until he was better that I wouldn't be seeing him. So
So how old were you when you learned where your dad had taken you? And also too, looking back at it, like when you're 4 years old and your dad made that promise to you,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm not gonna jeopardize what we have going on.
Yeah.
And then being put in that situation,
Yeah.
I guess that severs the relationship. How'd that make you feel? Like what?
There, from the time I was 4 until I was like 10, I remember really struggling to fall asleep at the time. My
Mm-hmm.
mom was remarried, and the man that she'd married, who now I'm super grateful for the role that he played in my life. I mean, he taught me things about what it was to be a man that I otherwise wouldn't have learned. But
Mm-hmm.
I remember yelling at him and at my mom as a kid, and I was just a troubled child, and I'd be like, "You're not my dad." And him and my mom would both be like, "But he is your dad," because he was
Yeah.
playing the role of a father. And he raised me like I was one of his own, and he was a great dad, honestly, and I'm super grateful for that. But the impact that my dad disappearing had on me left me feeling abandoned, and I remember crying myself to sleep at night and just
Mm-hmm.
wishing that he had been there. And
Were you so saying you're falling asleep crying? Would anyone else have known that, or were you always keeping it like I'm tough? No one knows, or would you?
I I think I never asked that question, and
Mm-hmm.
I was so young that I don't really know what the people that were taking care of me were aware of, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that they knew that it wasn't easy on me. And especially my oldest brother, I think he was the one that first dropped the bomb on me and told me, probably 7 or 8 years old, told me that my dad was incarcerated.
Mm-hmm.
And you know I later found out that he had written me letters that my mom never let me get. She didn't really want to tell me where he was at or what was going on. And he would try to call, and I never received any of the phone calls. But I remember my brother bringing me the phone. We had house phones still
Yeah.
at the time. And I
Yeah.
remember my brother bringing me the phone one day and just looking at me and being like, "It's your dad," and it was it was really emotional for me.
Yeah.
It was really hard. I didn't even know how to process it or what to say or how to act. But
Yeah.
um,
Does that ever? Did you ever resent your mom for not allowing contact with your pops?
a small part of me, for a period of time, like when my mom and I weren't getting along, I would use that against her. But
Yeah.
but not anymore. I know that she was doing the best that she could do, and she only
Exactly.
knew what she knew, and she was just trying to protect me. So I still don't know which one would have, like, that may have helped my situation, because she allowed my stepdad to fully step in.
Mm-hmm.
And when I needed whooped, I got
Yeah.
whooped.
Yeah.
And she wanted him to have that role as my father, because mine wasn't in a position in his life to do that at the time. So
Yeah.
yeah. And then, even though my stepdad was a great father, he wasn't the best husband. He was
Yeah.
he was unfaithful, and my mom had found out about that. And I remember the day that she found out. And
How old were you when you found out?
probably 9. I
9.
think I
And
was
did you
about
understand what
9.
was going on?
I'd never seen my mom so upset in my life.
And you saw that
Like,
at 9 years old.
yeah, and I remember her being on the phone, and I was sitting on the steps, and she stormed out of the house, and she's on the phone with him. And I didn't, that was the only time I heard my mom cuss until I was like 17 years old. Like, I never heard my
Wow.
mom use a
Yeah.
cuss word, and she's out there on the porch, like, just cussing him out,
Yeah.
screaming, crying,
Yeah.
heartbroken. And things really fell apart for our family after that. I mean, when they were together, he had kids of his own. My
Mhm.
mom had a few, and then they had my twin sisters together. So, you know, he coached our basketball teams. We had dinner at the table every night. We were praying. We weren't
Yeah.
heavy in the church, but we would go occasionally.
Yeah.
And but from what I remember up until that point, we had like a perfect home. You
Yeah.
know, like I never saw them really fight, like, and they were they were doing it right up until until they
Until
weren't,
they weren't doing it
until it fell
right. Yeah.
apart. And you know, that the divorce began at that time.
Was that when you were 9?
9,
9
yeah.
years old?
Like he left the house.
And you, that was pops to you, right? That was
Yeah.
your step-in father.
Yeah.
So that probably broke your heart a little bit seeing all that.
Yeah, they were together since I was 1.
Mhm. Oh,
So
wow.
they got together when I was real young, like before my earliest memories, you know, like
So from 1 to 4, your dad and your mom, they weren't together, but you still had like visitation, like,
right,
and then
yeah,
4, that was cut off, and then so from 1 to 9 though, but you had your stepfather in the
right,
picture.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so 9 is when he was removed from the picture. My mom's heartbroken. She's got 6 kids. She's working a full-time job. We had the twins who they were, the divorce and him leaving happened right around the time that they were born.
Yeah.
I'm about 9 years older than them. So we had newborn babies, me as the middle child, and then I had 3 older siblings. And
She was holding it down with 6 kids.
she was doing her best to hold it
Dude.
down. But that's kind of why things spiraled out of control for me.
Yeah.
Um
What do you mean by spiraled out of control? Unpack that. Or like at what age? With the
10. So it was really not long after
Yeah.
at all. I mean, looking back, I can imagine the weight and the responsibility that my mom was trying to figure out how to be a mother.
Well, also too, she has 6 young kids, and she only has 24 hours in a day.
Right.
I think about trying to, I mean, spend time with you.
Right.
I mean, how old were the
Newborn
twins?
babies,
With their newborn?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So I was loved. I was
Yes.
always loved deeply, but she was spread thin.
Yes.
You know, so, and older members in my family were not making great decisions. Like, you know, they had their hand in the streets a little bit. And
What's the streets?
they were hustling, you know, selling drugs,
Yeah.
the music that they were listening to, the movies that they were watching, and they were,
The reason why I asked is because there's probably a lot of people who listen to this that
yeah.
don't know what the streets are.
Oh, right. All
So
right, yeah.
we're gonna have to like expand
they
on
had
these.
their hands in the streets, you know, they were getting money illegally. And,
Illegally.
So, but I looked up to them. They were my heroes. You know, they had some years on me. We weren't all super close in age, like 3 or 4 years in between each sibling. So 10 years old, my mom's in shambles. She's trying to put herself back together. Both, you know, my brothers are hustling. They, you know, I was introduced to the streets at 10. You know, I was sent on my first drug deal. And I remember
At 10 years old.
yeah. And I remember getting the bag. It was just some weed at the time, but I remember getting a bag of weed and being told, like, you know, go down to this kid's house, get on your bike, go down to this kid's house. Don't stop to talk to anybody until you get there. I don't care if it's your best friend, the police.
Yeah.
Like, don't stop to talk to anybody. Keep this in your pocket until you get there. You know, once you get inside, wait till he gives you the money first before you even take it out of your pocket. So get the money, give it to him, put the money in your pocket, come back, and when you get back, I'll give you $5. So 10 years old though, $5,
Bucks.
like, you know, go to
That
the gas station, get some candy,
yeah.
whatever, and
And all you did was just a trade-off.
yeah, just got to ride my bike by
Yeah.
myself, which was an adventure in itself alone. You know, I got to leave the house by myself.
Yeah, you weren't biking alone at that
Ride
point.
across. So, you know.
So you went on the first run
10 at 10 years
at 10
old,
years
yeah.
old, got paid that $5.
Yeah. And then I fell in love with it, you know. And I would
What
always,
was it that you fell in love with? Was it just making money, or was it like there was like a feeling and like the excitement of just like, did you know what you were doing was bad?
I didn't really know yet that what I was doing was bad.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't even wrap my head around the consequences, and like
You're like, I'm just riding my bike and getting paid.
yeah. And yeah, so but that planted a seed in me that over the years was watered just by continuing to look up to the people, the older, not just family members, but kids in the neighborhood, kids that I started hanging out with. My supervision was minimal at the time. So like I could just say like I'm going over, you know, my brother's dad lived right around the corner, so I could just be like, I'm going over there, I'm going over to my other homies. And with what my mom was dealing with at the time,
She was just
it
like,
was
all
kind
right.
of like, oh, whatever, like be careful, you
Yeah.
know? And so by the time I was 12, we had moved, but I was riding back and forth across the city with a backpack full of a couple pounds.
Full couple pounds of weed.
Yeah. Yeah, 12 years old. And I had a piece of paper with everything from a gram to a pound and all the different bags in between with like the price next to it.
Yeah.
I had a phone at the time. I would get a call like, yo, Pablo's coming over. Pablo's going to stop by for 2 ounces, you know. He's going to give you this. You keep this. You put the rest back in the book bag. And then I would just do that until I would run out.
So this is your older brother still the one calling the shots?
You know, that's irrelevant.
Okay. All right. I didn't know who you're. I guess the reason why I asked, because I was like, who are you getting? Who's calling? Like, who are you getting your orders from?
People that I trusted.
Okay.
People that I trusted. You know, and there were some kids in the neighborhood that I started to build my own reputation, and like I didn't want to be under someone's control forever. So like I started to figure things out for my own.
You wanted to franchise this thing.
Yeah, and you know, there were these kids, they were like 17, 18 that lived in the neighborhood, and they started this gang, and they brought me and a couple other kids that were my age in, and you know, they were hustling. They put me in positions to make money selling weed, pills, and
So expanded from weed to at the age of 12, it expanded from weed, and now you're doing selling
between
some pills.
12 and 14, I was introduced to a few other things. Yeah.
What were those?
Just like painkillers and stuff. I never yeah. So but those kids that they started this gang, they would do other things. Like I remember a kid that was my age, his mom, her boyfriend, you know, put his hands on her a couple times, and I remember calling these kids. We're like 13 probably. I'm 13 at the time. These kids are like 18, and I call them and I'm like, hey, like, dude just put his hands on my homie's mom. Like, we need you guys to pull up. So they pulled up. It's the middle of the winter. I'm 13 years old. they come in and they like beat up my friend's mom's boyfriend.
What?
They beat him up. There's like 4 of them. They beat him up, threw him out in the snow, threw all his clothes out in the front yard, you know, told him to never come back. And I was like 13 and made this call and had these dudes come over and
And beat up your
mob on this dude.
Yeah.
so so there was like, you know, you asked like what I fell in love with, and it was a combination of the money and the reputation that I was building. I seen the way that people looked at rappers and
Yeah.
like people in my family, and like, you know, it was like
Some special treatment.
there was respect on our name.
Well,
You know?
the interesting thing too is you didn't say this, but I could see how at 13 years old you're calling the shots on
Yeah.
who's getting whooped and who's
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
That's like some like power
yeah,
right there. So it's
yeah.
like you get a little taste of that when you're younger. Like,
Yeah, I started.
Yeah.
I was always able to leverage my family name and be like, you know, I was a knucklehead. Like I was
Mhm.
always stirring up drama, but I was never really a fighter. But if anybody ever had a problem with me, I'd be like, do you know who I am? Do you know who my brothers are? Like, do you know who I rock with? Like, I'm
Yeah.
not the one. Like, I'll get on the phone right now.
Right now.
Like, and I'm just a little kid I abused that power.
Just hit puberty.
Yeah. Yeah. Out of control. Started really liking girls, you
Mhm.
know, and I'm like getting money, like shaking and moving. I'm doing stuff that no kid.
How much money were you bringing in at 14, 15 years old from the game?
By the time I hit 14, I was a freshman in high school. By the end of the year, I had a point eight GPA. I'd missed like 80 days of school. I remember being I remember being like 2 months into school and the principals stopping me in the hallways from different class principals, and they'd be like, Yates, like, you just got here and you already got senioritis. Like, you missed 3 days last week. You're showing up halfway through the day. Like, I don't know who you think you are, but you better get it together. You got a target on your back, you know? And I'd be like,
You just laugh at
like,
them.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
I'm not worried about none of that.
Yeah.
Like, so freshman year, there were a lot of trips to the office. You know, my mom at this point had found out that I was hustling,
Mhm.
told me that if that's the life that I want to live, that I better get good at it, because she was done supporting me. Like, no money for football
Wow.
games, no money for extracurricular anything. Like,
Yeah.
so that really fueled me. I was like, oh, you're done? Like, all right, I'm going to show you how good I can get at this. Like, and all these trips down to the office, and all my teachers and the principals and guidance counselors and my mom would show up, and we'd sit at this big round table. I can't even tell you how many times, but they would all be fighting for me, like, Jacob, you got so much potential. Like, you're such a bright kid, Jacob. We like you. Like, you just need to show up and put a little bit of effort, and we're going to help you through this, you know? And the divorce, my mom being heartbroken and how she handled that, like her dating life after that, and the lack of accountability, and me needing a father,
Mhm.
and the men in my life that I looked up to at the time weren't guiding me in the best direction. And by the time they realized that, I'd already found my own love for the life that I was living. I had already built my own reputation
Mhm.
and stuff. So back to sitting at this round table with all the teachers and stuff. They'd be like, "Oh, you're going to end up working at Speedway for the rest of your life." Like, some would be like, "We believe in you," and some would be just fed up with it. But
Yeah.
I remember thinking, you know, I probably generated over 6 figures my freshman year in total revenue. So I profited like 30,000
30,
probably.
yeah. And that's
35,000
about
or
how
something.
much some of these teachers were making at the
Yeah, so I'm
time.
like I'm having way too much fun.
You're like, I'm
Like,
literally making just as much money as you, and I got to
yeah,
be stuck in school for 8 hours.
yeah, yeah. I felt like school was prison. I remember saying that. Like, this is crazy. Y'all are trying to tell me when I can and can't use the bathroom. Like, when I
Yeah.
can and can't leave. I get in trouble if I leave.
Hmm.
Like, this is crazy. School was not.
That's
I
crazy. You
didn't
had your first six-figure year at
business
15,
14.
14.
14, yeah. But there was a price that was paid with that too. Like,
100%.
I was put in a lot of unsafe situations despite my reputation and the family name and things like that. Like, I was robbed, I was held at gunpoint. You know, I'd caught legal charges. My mom filed unruly on me. I got caught with a bunch of weed when I was a kid. Like,
Hmm.
so I got wrapped up in the system, and I could have lost my life, you know, at a young age. And I remember my mom finding out about me getting held at gunpoint, and she just broke down in tears.
How did she find out about that?
I was going through it.
Oh,
Like,
so then you
I
opened
told
up.
her, yeah, I told her, I'm like, I'm not doing good in school. I'm like lashing out. I'm smoking weed every day. I'm drinking. I'm like just the middle finger to everybody. I was like, I don't care what nobody's got to say. Like, y'all don't know what I'm going through right now. Like,
Yeah.
I felt alone, but I was surrounded by people. I was getting money, but I felt empty, you know, like it was
Hmm.
a vicious cycle. And but I'd like smoked and drank and did some drugs, but I never got to like the point of being a junkie or like strung
Yeah.
out or anything, or but the drugs and the alcohol.
So that was just compounding over high school.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I ended up not making it through high school.
Hmm.
My mom got deployed and
She was in the military.
in the military.
Yeah.
She joined the military when I was 13,
So,
like middle school.
wow.
So, and then she was overseas a few times. Then the supervision, like,
Really was.
yeah. And my dad did come back into the picture, but he had missed so much of my childhood that he just wanted to let me know that he loved me.
Hmm.
And his struggle with, you know, mental health and addiction and stuff never quite he never quite healed from it.
Hmm.
So he still struggled with that along the way, but he always just let me know that he had my back. You know,
Yeah.
no matter what I was doing, he was like, if he just wanted me to feel comfortable being open and honest with him, you
Yeah.
know, he would have, you know, he has had my back through everything for real.
Yeah.
But
Shout out Pops.
yeah, so
Okay, so we're talking about what's going on in high school. You start experiencing some crazy stuff,
yeah,
gunpoint, and then after high school, it started to take a turn though.
yeah,
Can we talk about that?
yeah. My mom ended up getting deployed for 4 years overseas.
Hmm.
Um, and my oldest sister, my mom's firstborn, uh, when I was 18, she was hit by someone texting and driving. She lived in Utah at the time, and she was on the back of a motorcycle, and she didn't have a helmet on, and they were clipped by someone texting and driving, and uh, I remember getting the text saying like your sister's on life support, and I'm just out of control at this point. I mean, I'm breaking into houses. I'm like really getting to the bag. I got my own place. You know, we're partying all the time, and my sister would often beg me to move out to Utah with her. She'd be like, "Jacob, I swear you would love it out here. Like, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, just come out here and visit, and you'll see and she kept bugging me about it. She only lived out there for about a year before she passed away, but
Mm-hmm.
she kept bugging me about it to a point where, like, the last few times that she called, I didn't even answer the phone. So
Whoa.
when I got the text saying that she was on life support, I felt like I got hit by a train,
Mm.
and no matter how much me and my family would argue or beef, I never considered the possibility of losing one of them,
Yeah.
So that, and even though I was always in the streets and I was like kind of a menace, I was always smiling,
Yeah.
like I was always loving, and there were times I'd be rebellious towards my mom or towards like authority,
Yes.
but like the people around me, I was always trying to fit in,
Yes.
like,
You're trying to do your best.
but she got put on life support, and when a few days later, she ended up losing her life to lack of brain activity, and I completely shut down at that point, and it it opened a door spiritually for me to come under attack. There were times where people would they would look at me and be like, "It looks like you got the devil in your eyes," and I'd be like, "I am the devil," And I was running around with guns, sleeping with guns under my pillows, my couch cushions. Where the people that I was rolling with at the time were also in a pretty dark place, so we're just like on demon time, and and I was ready to lose my life at that time. Like, I was just like, man, I don't even care anymore. Like, if somebody's got a problem, tell them come see me, and they better know, like, it's either me or them. And I was ready to lose my life or take somebody's life, and I thank God that nobody was ever put in a position to where that happened.
Yeah.
You know, I've I've lost some friends along the way, and uh and then it was about a year later, between 6 months and a year, this girl that I was dating, she passed away in a head-on collision, and and at the same time,
Man, I forgot we talked about that.
yeah. So, like, my mom's overseas with one of my older brothers,
Mm-hmm.
my little sisters. Me and my oldest brother are just beefing. We're both in a really dark place in our lives at the time. Sister passed, girlfriend passed. I'm spiraling out of control. I can't even really get money the way that I was used to. I'm like fumbling the bag a little bit. I'm putting myself in unsafe situations, and uh and I during that time I'm also fighting a case where I'm facing, like, before I was sentenced to a total of all my charges, I could have faced up to like 14 years. So I'd gotten caught with a gun, backpack full of drugs, not just weed. I'm running around with just all sorts of stuff, and so I'm like lost, afraid, alone, facing
Yeah.
almost as long as I've been alive in prison time. Like, I'm like, my mom's calling me from overseas, like, Jacob, you just need to turn yourself in. Like, you need to admit yourself to the hospital and just tell them that you're trying to kill yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you've lost your mind. Like, I'm not trying to kill myself. Like,
Yeah.
life's good, But looking back, some of the decisions that I was making and the situations I was putting myself in, like, I wasn't like I didn't have a gun to my own head, but I was willing to put myself in a situation where I could have lost my life many times for sure.
Yeah. So you were the total stack of your charges was 14 years. What did that go down to?
So I caught those charges when I was 19, picked up a few more charges while I was out on bond, and when I was sentenced, I fought that case for 2 years, and when I was sentenced to 4 years, 9 months at 21, and I was terrified. Like I was like,
Mm.
man, I'm really not built for this. Like I'm just a kid from the suburbs that lost his way,
Yeah.
and I was terrified. But
What was that like? We gotta
man,
going from Hilliard Davidson High School to Franklin County.
yeah, I was in and out of the county many times, but facing prison time where people aren't just in there for your DUI or
Oh yeah.
getting in a fight or something, you know, you don't just go to prison for making one bad decision. And I realized that while I was sitting in there, I was like, man, I'm not sitting in here for getting caught with a backpack full of drugs and a gun. Like, this was the result and the consequences of all the decisions that I ignored and refused to make changes in the life that I was living, accumulating, that led me here. And now I'm boxed in with several thousand people, career criminals
Yeah.
who were really about that life, who really didn't have anything to lose, and I was scared, honestly. But
21 years old
21,
with
yeah.
and you had a cellmate,
I had a bunkie. Yeah, my bunkie.
Monkey,
Yeah, Wolf.
Wolf. Shout out Wolf.
Shout out to Wolf, man. Like,
How old was he?
I was 21. He was probably 28,
Okay.
29 at the
Yeah.
time. He's about 30. Yeah, he's like 8 years older than me.
Yeah.
He'd already done, you know, 7.5 years in West Virginia. I was sentenced to 4 years, 9 months. He was sentenced to 4. Our prison numbers were one number off. Like we were sentenced back to back. This was a God thing, honestly. And neither one of us had a healthy relationship with God, but we
Yeah.
both had people in our lives that were praying with us,
Mhm.
when we didn't even know about
You
it.
don't even know God. Yeah, at that
Yeah.
point.
And but him having the history of being incarcerated up until that point, we were put in a 23-1 lockdown where we were in a small cell for 23 hours a day. We would get out to go to lunch or to make a phone call, and it would add up to about an hour out of the day. But for 3 months, we were sitting in this cell together. And I was telling you, I remember there's a handful of people in my life where I can recall the exact moment, like where it was a divine moment that I met him, and
Mhm.
I can remember like the conversation, like how I was feeling that day, and what life was like when our paths crossed. And it's like I believe that those people were the people that God brought into my life for a
Yeah.
reason, and you being one of them.
My guy.
But Wolf was definitely one of those situations, and I don't think he really liked me at first, but we were leaving. He had a Buddhist book in his hand. I was diving into Buddhism. I'm like into Zodiac at the time. I'm into like all this artificial spirituality stuff, modern day practices that ultimately never really lead you anywhere either. But I saw that he was into it, and once we were put in the same cell together, we really got to know each other, and he educated me on how to stay alive in there. Like I'm just
Yeah.
a skinny white boy from the suburbs, and and
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was. I mean, you were probably like the, or if he
I would
didn't,
be
if
an easy target in
yeah, if he
there.
didn't teach you, people would have
Yeah,
been coming at you.
yeah. So he like schooled me like this is how you just keep your head down and stay out the way.
What kind of things were you seeing happening in prison? Like I don't know, because I feel
I
like
mean, I wasn't in a maximum security prison. It
okay,
was like medium security, but there
that's
were
crazy that a 23 and one is medium security.
that's a processing prison. That's why we were only there for 3 months.
Okay.
You go there, they classify you, determine what prison you're gonna go
So if
to
you're either
spend
gonna
the
go to
rest of your time.
maximum or medium,
Right, or
gotcha.
low, yeah. And the chances of us going from the county to the processing prison,
Together.
we rode out from county on a bus with 6 people, same time, got to the processing prison. The chances of us being cellmates there and then being rode out to the same prison to do the rest of our time like is 1 in a million. Like it was it was a God thing, honestly.
Hmm.
I'm so grateful still to this day. He's I was on the phone with him before I came here. Like
Yeah.
we're both saved. I was there for his baptism. I introduced him to his wife. Like I'm gonna be the best man in his wedding. Like we've come so
That's
far.
crazy.
Like our lives and what they look like now compared to his story is
Well, I want to
also
rewind before we dive into that because I want to talk about how so you were in there with him. He was helping you out, showing you the ropes on how to
yeah,
get by,
yeah.
and then you spent your time there. But I want to, and frankly, I haven't even heard your like how you came to the Lord or
Yeah.
like
So while we were locked up, he was a full blown atheist, but he's by far one of the most intelligent, well spoken, just educated, self educated, but he devours books. Like even at this time, even though he wasn't in his faith, he'd always be like, "Man, I love Jesus, but that ain't really that ain't my thing." Like
yeah.
he was a full blown atheist. He's putting me on with all these atheistic thinkers,
Mhm.
these different like esoteric authors, and I was reading Buddhism books, and but I was also going to church while I was in prison. So I'm like being pulled in all these different directions
Yeah.
spiritually. I had some encounters like where I would break down in prison during a sermon, and I just thought that it was because of the situation that I was in, and
Mm.
I was just like I'll take anything to give me some light and some
Yeah.
relief and some peace. And I'm reading, books like The Four Agreements, The Power of Now, The Fourth Way, like, and so a combination of all those things allowed me to find this sense of peace while I was incarcerated.
Mhm.
But him and I also we were devouring books. We were working out every day. We were locked in like on growth. We're like whatever we can do to support each other to like get better.
Yeah.
We weren't in there. You can you can go to prison and become a better criminal,
Or you can be a better man.
or you can go in there and they do have the tools and resources to like rehabilitate, but
Mhm.
it's a small percentage of people that go in there and make the decision to try to improve
Yeah.
themselves. Everybody has the same song where they're like, I'm never going to put myself in this situation again, but they're in there doing the dirt, they're in
Mhm.
there wheeling and dealing and smoking and doing Suboxone or whatever it is. Like,
Suboxone?
yeah,
What's that?
it's like you can get high on it, but it was designed to help people get off opiates.
Wow.
But it's like a piece of paper though, so it was super easy for people to get it into the prison, you know.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And but we chose, I was sentenced to 4 years 9 months, but the the type of time that we were on, I was able to get out around a year. And,
Dang.
you know, his time was 4 years mandatory. So I got out and I'm like, you know, just keeping money on the phone, having conversations with him. And yeah, so it was crazy though. There were times where it was like things you would see in the movies, like the fights, you know,
Yeah.
like people getting beat bad, and like they didn't get to leave there, you
Yeah.
know, and people losing their
Was there a lot of
lives.
gay
And
stuff going on?
there were people, there were definitely like a gay posse. You know, there'd be
Wow.
like a
Yeah.
posse of gay dudes, and you could tell like just walking across the yard that like, oh yeah.
So like, you know that like, don't drop the soap. You know.
It ain't like that. Nah. Maybe in like a maximum security where everybody's doing life and like people are just, but these people are getting out, you know, and the showers aren't completely, you don't have a door, but they have like dividers, you
Bro, that's
know, and you get to
crazy.
choose your time to shower. So like I'd assume that the gay dudes would do it around the same time.
So
That'd be
you avoided that time.
yeah. I mean, I don't know what time that was, but there were also dudes that would go in there and they would have like a wife and kids back home, and they would come out the closet while they were
What?
locked up, and Wolf would tell me like, "Oh yeah, they call that just gay for the stay."
Gay for the
like
stay?
like they always had that in them, but then when you get locked up, like it got brought out of them
Gay for the stay.
cause yeah, yeah.
Was that a
So
normal thing? Do you see that happen a
no, I
lot?
only seen it happen. Really, I only remember one dude that
Were these dudes like trying to dress like women too? Nah.
nah. There were some that were like flamboyant, like kind
Yeah.
of like feminine in their character, but not like. I mean, you ain't got like
You
lipstick
know
and
what I'm
stuff in
thinking of right now?
there. The longest yard.
The longest
Yeah,
yard.
yeah.
I'm thinking of that
It's
right
not
now.
that obnoxious, but the little how they like click up like that. It
That
is like that.
that's
And then
real.
there's the one dude in it that was like acting like he wasn't gay,
Yeah.
and then he did end up being gay, and everybody's roasting him and stuff. There was
Yeah.
one dude that it was actually like that. This dude was like a big dude, wife and kids back home. Like everybody associated with him was like would at least say what's up. He was like in his mid 40s or something, like chill dude,
No.
but cool. But then like people saw him running around with the gay boys, and we were like, no, like seriously,
No.
like we could never talk to that dude
Did he
again.
start skipping and
Nah. There was one dude in there that was
super
gay.
zesty?
But he beat everybody up. Like
What?
yeah, he would be working everybody, which was really bad. So yeah,
Dang.
yeah,
I don't know how to feel about that.
yeah. It would be.
Did he ever beat on you?
Nah, nah, man. No, I kept my head down. I got out of there. You know, like, and honestly, Wolf had that name for a reason. Like,
Yeah.
and I was really blessed we would be out there training on the yard. Like, people were just like, not that we were like trying to bully or threaten or
Hmm.
punk anybody, but they were just like, man, they're locked in on their own thing. Like,
Yeah.
ain't nobody trying to
You guys were
mess.
in your own lane,
Yeah.
trying to get better.
So,
So, all right. So after you left, though, I wanna peel more into this
yeah. All right.
the encounters,
Yeah.
the testimony.
Yeah. I got out and I had this whole plan. Like, me and Wolf put this plan together.
That reminds me of another movie.
What?
Um, you know what I'm talking? No, it's Shawshank. You
Oh,
boys putting a
yeah.
plan together. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have, but it's been a while. But it's a good one.
Yeah, it's
It's a
like they're like putting a
classic.
plan together.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Go back to what you're talking about.
We put this plan together. I had it written out and everything. Like, I'm gonna go to school for carpentry. I'm gonna get some degrees in it. I'm gonna like learn to build. And I
Mhm.
was like, and I'm gonna start this remodeling company called Bella Homes, which is beautiful homes. Like, Bella is beautiful in Italian.
Yeah.
My mom's Italian, and yeah. So I had this whole idea, and then I got out, and reality hit me, and I stepped out with some friends, like one of my first nights out, and I'm out at the club, and I got people running up to me like, "Yo, like, you went and sat it down like a man, like you ain't say nothing, like I had stripes, you know, like I had earned, like, like I had earned my stripes." They were
Like that was
like,
like a resume
like a
builder.
yeah, yeah,
That's
in
crazy.
the streets,
In the
yeah,
streets, that
yeah, it
was
was like a
like, all
resume
right, time
builder.
for a promotion. That's
Yeah, time
crazy.
for a promotion. Seriously, yeah, that's what the enemy was saying, and
Wow.
and the enemy's got people on assignment just like God does, and
Hmm.
when you put yourself in those environments, like, the enemy will attack you where he knows you're weak, and that was a weak spot for me, and I didn't have a foundation rooted in God that was strong enough
It was
to,
genuine.
yeah, like I didn't even know what I'd believed in
Yeah.
still at this time. I was like, I kind of took Wolf's perspective on things, and I was like, yeah, Jesus is great, like great guy, but
Great guy.
love him, great dude, but nah, that ain't for me, and
Yeah.
since I wasn't rooted in it, I I fell for anything, and like having that reputation when I came home and everybody glamorizing it and being like, "Oh yeah, man, it's so good to have you back. Like whatever you need, I got you." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right,
You're
well,
like,
let's get this money."
yeah.
I'm broke and homeless. I'm broke and homeless. Seriously, I didn't have anything when I came home. Like
Yeah.
since everything unfolded the way that it did on my way to prison, the money that I was making and the things that I did buy, like I lost it all because I was just so out of control and in a dark place.
Hmm.
Came home, nothing, hit the streets running, and I got deeper than ever into it.
After,
Yeah,
after you spent
yeah.
time.
After I was like, never again. Never will I ever do this stuff again. Like, dove right back in. Dove right back in. I'm like, oh yeah, we about to get to it for real.
Wow.
And I've got the remaining 4 years hanging over my head, 17,000 in court cost, broke, homeless, nowhere to go. I'm couch surfing. I got 2 kids. I'm like, child support's racking up. I'm like, I'm a multi felon.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. I ain't never worked a job in my life. I'm not trying to get
You had those 2 kids before you went
before I
in.
went to
Yeah,
prison.
that's
Yeah,
right.
my second son was born while I was in prison. My first was like a few months old when I went in. So I'm like, I'm about to
I gotta
just
make
do.
something
I
happen.
gotta do what I gotta do. I'm about to
Yeah.
get to this bag, and everybody's already like putting me up on a pedestal. Like I might as well capitalize on this opportunity. So, so, so I
So,
hit the streets running.
so what we call a capitalist. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
All right, that was corny.
it's alright. Got a girl, fell in love. We were, we did our thing. She loved me when I was down. I was broke. Came up together. Uh, we're traveling the country. Flying out to Cali.
Well,
Go,
at this point, you were making money,
yeah,
though.
yeah. I mean, the first year started out. I mean, it happened fast, honestly. Like,
But now
I'm,
you're selling more than just weed, right?
yeah, yeah. I'm selling, yeah. I was okay. All right. I mean, we had our hands in a few things, you know.
Yeah.
I'm selling coke, weed, Molly, but really just, you know, I had my hands in it all the way,
Yeah.
and I was fully invested. I was more in love with it than ever.
Mm.
I became debt free, got a couple cars. I'm flying all over the country. I'm taking my girl on trips. We're flying out to Cali to make, you know, do business. We're going to Vegas several times a year, going to the strip club, dropping thousands of dollars in there, like just going crazy. Like I
Yeah.
love this girl. Like we had a good run, but
Yeah.
uh, we kind of got into our faith a little bit together.
Mm.
People were coming into my life that were checking me spiritually, you know.
They wanted to get to know you, right?
Yeah, like I went to barber school and I'm just trying to find a way out of the game at this point.
Mm.
And I'm like, I was always told that the game is a means to an end, so I was like, well, I've caught up.
I've been playing this game for
I've
a
been
while.
playing. Now I've really done it. Like, how can I use the money that I made and the time that I have on my hands to like do something good? So I tried personal training for a while. I went to barber school, and the owner of the barber school was really deep into his faith. And I remember him telling me, you know, because I wanted to marry this girl.
Mm.
I remember him telling me, like, man, if you want to marry this girl, like, you got to be honest with her. And I was unfaithful earlier on in our relationship. And he was like, if you want to marry her, you got to be honest with her. And it unfolded in a way where I had an opportunity to be honest, so I did.
Mm-hmm.
Fought for our relationship for like a year, and then we
Just
ended up deciding mutually, like we gave it everything we got,
yeah.
you know. So the barber school didn't really like give me
Excited.
didn't I liked it. It was cool. I feel like I could have gotten good at it, but I was like, man, I don't see myself making the money that I want to
Yeah.
doing this or the money that I have. Same with
Yeah.
personal training. So like I'm still hustling, you
Yeah.
know. And then
Well, you didn't have a greater reason to stop yet.
right, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet. Nah.
Not yet.
Nah, but
But it's
then
coming.
yeah, yeah. So we broke up. I take a trip across the West Coast for like 2 weeks. I'm like backpacking through Yosemite, the Rocky Mountains. We go to Cali. Like we were in Vegas for a little bit, went to Death Valley. We went all over. Left from Vegas and went up through Cali and then through Colorado and then came home.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing trip. Came home and I'm riding around. I feel like I'm on top of the world. I'd been single for a couple months and I'm on the phone with a friend from Miami. I got 2 duffel bags in the back seat, stuffed packed full of weed, 100 pre-rolled joints, 100 edibles, thousands of dollars in cash. Just got a haircut, had a couple drinks. I'm on FaceTime like, yeah, oh yeah, whatever. And I look down, I'm going like 52 and a 35, and I pass a cop, got pulled over. And I'd already gotten probation terminated,
You're in free and clear.
Yeah, I'm free and clean. And I got pulled over. The car is still in my ex's name.
Oh no.
I can't find the insurance card. And he's like, it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm calling my ex. Like, I need you to send me a picture of the insurance card. And he's like, well,
Oh.
while we wait, do you mind stepping out of the car? And so I stepped out, and he's like, all right, now before I go looking, like, I'm going to ask you again, there's no weapons or drugs in here, is there? And I was like, well, you might find a little bit of weed.
Yeah.
And he goes searching, finds the duffel bags, and
A little bit of weed.
yeah, 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 man. This was the turning point for me. This is where I was like, all right, like, my kids are getting too old. Like, what are they gonna say when they go to school and their friends or their teachers ask them, like, what does your dad do? I'm like, and I'm having flashbacks of being a kid when my dad made a promise to me that he was gonna be there, and then he wasn't. And now my kids are old enough to where if I got locked up again, they're never gonna forget it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I gonna do? I go to jail that night. I call my dad. I spend the weekend in there. I call my dad and I'm like, go pick up my money, bail me out. Like, I don't care how much it is, bail me out. I'm gonna fight this thing. And I get out, and like 2 days later, my homie calls me. He goes on a date with a girl to one church, and he's like, bro, I know you're going through a lot right now. Like, I just went on a date to this church, and I feel like you need to hear this sermon. And I'm like, I'll do anything right now.
Yeah.
Like, my way ain't working. Like, my way is not working. I'm a mess. I just got pulled over with big bags. Big
Big
bags.
bags.
Enough to go to
Yeah.
prison for sure, especially with my record. And I'm like, they hit me with trafficking. And I'm like, okay. So I go to, he went to the early service. I went to like the noon service or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I just sat in the back and I just wept. Like it smacked me like, like, oh my gosh. I was just so overwhelmed. I'm like, I don't even know who I am. Like
Smacked by the
God
whole.
was like, that was like my first real encounter with the Holy Spirit. Like, just poured over me. Like, this isn't who I'm calling you to be. Like, I have so much more planned for you. Like, oh, you think this was fun? Like, wait until you see what I have planned for you if you follow my will and my plans
Come
for
on,
you.
man.
Yeah, and
Come on.
so I'm like, now I've accumulated this lifestyle and all these expenses. I'm like living lavish. I'm bougie, as my little sisters would say. They'd be like, "You do too much. Like you're always doing too much. Like chill out."
Yeah.
But I've accumulated this lifestyle, and I'm like, I don't even know who I'm gonna be on the other side of this. Like I did my time. I made my money. I've been traveling. I'm getting to it. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Like now I've rebuilt my reputation to where I do good business. I'm not out here to hurt anybody. I made amends with everybody that and rebuilt the bridges that I burned and then this happened and I'm like, who am I? And who am I gonna be on the other side of this? And who if this isn't who I am, then who are you calling me to be? You know? So I was like getting dealt with. That's what I call it now. I'm like
Uh,
getting dealt with by the Holy Spirit.
yeah.
Like having you reconsider everything. And
It's crazy.
I welcomed him into my life and I started praying and I started going up to the prayer team at one church every week and I would just get closer and closer to the front. And then I'm sitting behind the pastor. I'm talking to the pastor's dad. I'm having him pray over me. I'm like, I don't like I see God moving in my life. Like shortly after I God gave me this vision for my what was my way out, my business, you know. Gave me
Yo.
a vision for my business and I'm like, I can make the sky's the limit with this. Like
Yes.
commercial cleaning and
Yep.
detailing cars, working with dealerships. We're in the heart of Dublin now,
Yeah.
working with some of the nicest dealerships. We've got commercial properties that we take care of in Easton and Bridge Park. And I saw God moving and blessing me in a way that I couldn't see at the time. So my faith is growing, my prayer life is growing. I'm asking God to remove people from my life that don't support my relationship with him. I'm asking him to bring people into my life that do.
Mhm.
He's doing all this. I'm like meeting all these new people. I'm getting all these opportunities and I'm like, wow. I'm like, this is
This
this
is
is better
cool.
than
Yeah.
anything I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, also too, I want you to speak to probably the peace that you had, the joy that you had.
yeah, I mean,
It was different.
yeah, I mean, despite what I thought was fun and what I thought was power and what I thought was cool. Like, I was always paranoid. Like, I had a hard time trusting anybody. I put some of my closest friends in positions to make money. I still got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that I've had to let go of because it was either that or I put myself in a situation where my freedom or my life is at stake again.
Mm.
And there was no peace. There was no peace. I was, I'd been in houses that had been hit by SWAT. I'd been in houses that had been broken into and robbed, like, and as I let go of the game and let go of the streets and I started to give my life to God, all that paranoia and all that guilt from knowing that I really wasn't contributing anything to the people around me, like I was just making a mess in my life and in the people's lives around me. So, you know, going legit and doing things the right way and praying and inviting God into that process and asking for his guidance and his blessing over whatever it is that he's calling me to do
Mm-hmm.
has completely changed my heart. It's changed my life. It's changed me as a friend, a father, a son. Like, the way that I parent now doesn't look anything like it used to, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think one of the coolest things too is, well, I mean, it's all freaking cool, but a lot of people, me and you were talking about this the other day, it's like a lot of people don't make it out of the game. They
yeah,
get sucked. Like, you went back in for a short bit, but then everything just started to change.
yeah,
And like, there's very few people who make it out. And also, too, like, you were killing it
yeah,
at moving weight,
yeah,
selling drugs.
yeah,
But now you have a business where that's afforded you to make close to the same amount of money, but
yeah,
legally,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
crazy, which is
yeah,
so cool.
yeah. It's been a huge blessing, and I feel like, my hope is that I can share that experience with other people who are like looking for a way out. They feel stuck. They think that they love that life,
Mm-hmm.
but there's something in them that knows that they haven't reached any real fulfillment and they don't
Yes.
feel like they're fulfilling their purpose, like there's no it's all bad. So, and like I said, like I've got homies that I used to rock with that are locked up right now. There's a couple of them that are doing life that put themselves in situations that I very well could have been in,
Mm-hmm.
and it happens like you make a decision and then you can't come back from that decision and then you got to deal with the consequences of that. So,
Yeah.
you know, my hope is that the things that I've been through and how long I lived that life and and I joke with people that I used to rock with and I'll tell them like, man, I'm just trying to make dope boy money cleaning cars. Like and I've always loved
Yeah.
cleaning,
Come
so just
on.
finding something that you're passionate about and pouring your heart into it, and like you were saying with the direction you're going with things, like there is no plan B.
Exactly.
Like I'm about to give this everything that I got,
Yeah.
and that's what it takes,
It
honestly,
is.
and the right amount of faith, the right amount of hard work. I think I gotta sneeze.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah. No, that's one thing I've been chewing on like a lot. Is like, I mean, me and you were talking about this at the gym the other day. Like, leaving no doubt
Yeah,
that you gave it your best.
yeah,
Because, like, if you gave it your absolute best, like, there is nothing more you could have done, and it just wasn't in your cards, then that's one thing.
yeah,
But if you didn't put in your max effort, and then you start to have that what if, and it's just it's not good.
Right.
So just leaving no doubt is that's how it'll be.
Yeah.
So, well, bro, this is really good. I love you.
Love you too, bro.
No, I haven't, dude. I was like, man, I'm gonna tell him I love him today. No, I literally was thinking about that on here. Just, man, it's been really cool just seeing how our friendship started, where it's going, and I really do appreciate you.
Appreciate you too, man.
And like, this has been such a good conversation. Like, this doesn't even. We're just talking.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like relaxing.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
Yeah, well, where can people connect with you at? Instagram, I take it.
Instagram.
What's your Instagram?
I am Jacob Yates.
I am Jacob Yates.
Yeah.
All right, well, I appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you too.
So, well, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Divine Potential. So, I know that was a really inspiring conversation and just life-changing for sure. And so I hope you guys can say the same. But I appreciate and love all you guys. Peace out.